The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys had a good weekend. All right, let's see. Before I get into playing some clips, holy mackerel. I don't know if you guys watched the Grammys, but my man Kanye West, Yee, as he likes to be called now, him and his wife, I don't know if you saw this or not. I'm sure you did. It was all over the place. But they basically walked the red carpet and she was pretty much wearing pantyhose disguised as a dress, and she was completely naked underneath. That was wild. Not gonna lie, she's got a very nice, very nice figure. I don't know if they were trying to rub it in Kim Kardashian's face or just create controversy. But anyway, just absolutely ridiculous. I will say this about Kanye West, and I'm not gonna lie. He's definitely been someone that's brought up some really interesting things, especially in terms of who controls the entertainment industry and all of the fuckery in that world. But the problem is when he does stuff like this, it just ruins all that credibility that honestly, he really has been kind of like a truth talker. And there's a lot of things he's talked about that nobody else has the guts to talk about. So, I would give him credit for that. But then, he does stuff like this that I don't know if he's just trying to, gain attention or get another run in the spotlight or what he's trying to do. But it just, I don't know. It's like, do they not think through this? It's funny. So her outfit was so outrageous because again, it literally, if you haven't seen it, it's basically as if she's wearing a gigantic pair of pantyhose that has, a neck cut out and then it's wrapped on her legs, but she's completely naked underneath it. I mean, you can pretty much see everything. Actually, I had one buddy, I'm not going to put his name on blast, but I sent him a picture of it as we were in discussions of something else. And then he texted me back 20 minutes later. He's like, I put this on my 27-inch iMac and I zoomed in, and he zoomed into I'm not even going to say what he zoomed into, but he took the picture and he, I guess, blew it up on his 27-inch iMac and he zoomed in. And he gave me some thoughts on what he zoomed in on, which I'm not going to share. But the funny thing, what I was going to say was if she had even just covered up, her nipple area and then her private part area with some type of pasty or something, she probably could have gotten away with it. And she probably could have, supposedly they were kicked out of the Grammys, maybe they wouldn't have gotten kicked out. And I don't think the backlash would be kind of what it was, but she's buck naked underneath that. Anyway, that's that. All right. I did want to play a few things that I didn't get a chance to play last week. And I want to start off by talking, again, more about health. And I want you to give this a listen. This was one of the best, I guess, summaries of kind of what goes on with our health system. And a lot of this is, in regards to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination for, the HHS role and all of the incredible, I guess, backlash that he's receiving for that in terms of people saying that he's not qualified and all that. We talked about that, I believe, on Friday with me bringing up the Javier Becerra and how he really technically wasn't qualified. But anyway, it also, again, it continues to speak to how divided this country is because we can't even agree on a proper route forward for our health. And quite frankly, the health of, our children. So that's a real shame. But listen to this.
So you run out of the essential nutrients your body needs, then something breaks, So you go to the only medicine that your insurance pays for, which is allopathic MD-directed medicine. The doctors don't know anything about medical nutrition. They don't believe that the body can cure itself.
Really quick, I love that he said that. They don't believe that the body can cure itself, because honestly, the body absolutely can cure itself.
And they don't believe that the body can cure itself, so they give you a drug that manages the problem. The drug, in its working in the human body, also burns through nutrients. So after 6 months or a year, the drug stops working, or they need to increase its potency, or they need to give you a second or a third drug. And then you get worse, and then you need another drug, and then it gets worse, and then you need surgery, and then you get a secondary infection from the surgery, and then you need another drug for that, and then you die. And then your relatives are so grief-stricken that they organize a 5K run on your behalf to come up with a cure for stomach cancer. And who do they give the money to? The people that failed you in the first place.
You know, I couldn't figure out who that guy was, but he was on someone's podcast. And, you know, what I really liked about what he said, honestly, I liked all of it, but obviously, you know, the first part about the body absolutely can heal itself. I've experienced that myself in so many different times if you give the body, you know, what it needs. But then the other thing that I really want to key on is, you know, when it comes to prescription medicine, again, I'm not opposed to prescription medicine playing a role in people's health and in our health in general. But I will say, and again, I've talked about this a little bit before, you know, the problem is when prescriptions become the de facto answer, and it's kind of like the Band-Aid solution of, hey, this is wrong, well, let me write a prescription for that. That's not how we should be thinking about our health. And then secondly, and this is something that I think the older generation really struggles with, is, you know, just because you went on blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine or some type of medicine for a stage in your life, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to be on that for the rest of your life. The body changes. And then the other part is, the body really adapts to many of these medications. And I've experienced this with my mom in a big way, where, you know, I've taken her off of pretty much 98% of what she was taking previously when I wasn't really that active in her. Well, no, I've always been active in her healthcare, but, you know, when I really wasn't as critical about, you know, analyzing things on my own. And then, you know, we've taken her off of a lot of different things with no bad consequences, and so many of the side effects have cleared up. So again, I would just caution all of you, if you're on any type of longer term prescription medicine, remember there's going to be a point where your body, you know, basically adjusts to that. And you're not necessarily getting the benefits of it anymore. And instead, you're pretty much, you know, suffering the side effects. And then those side effects lead you down this, you know, really this path of destruction where other things go wrong. And then there's other prescriptions that come to fix those. And then you have the interaction of these drugs and all of that. So it's a pretty wicked cycle. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not saying there's no role for prescription medicine and all that. There absolutely is. But again, it needs to be thought of as, in many ways, I would say, kind of a last resort instead of being thought of as a first resort. So anyway, all right. So there's that. I did want to play that. The other thing I want to play is, you know, this interview from 2021 with, at the time, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. You know, over the weekend, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who asked me kind of like, hey, when did you start, I don't know, asking so many questions or being so inquisitive about things? And we were talking specifically in relation to, you know, COVID-19 and all that. And I told him, honestly, it was from that first day, March 13th, 2020, when they told us not to leave the house. But then from there were certain pieces of media that really just kind of made zero sense to me. And it caused me to become even more critical. And this was one of them. Let me set this up. So this, again, you've probably seen this. So this is New York Mayor Bill de Blasio sitting at a table, giving a press conference, eating French fries and a hamburger.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this, these delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? Let me check with Bill Neidhart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This can be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination.
Let me jump in real quick. So, here we are several years removed. So I'm hoping now that when you hear something like this, you just find it as cringe as I do. And it's unbelievable that a government official, let alone the mayor of one of the most important cities in America, being New York City, would be allowed to go on national television or local television or whatever it was and say, if this is appealing to you, first of all, awful health product in burger and fries, think of this when you think of vaccination. And so they were trying to incent people to get vaccinated by giving them free burger and fries. Man, that is just so awful all around that it's just unbelievable to me. All right, let's listen to the rest.
Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment. Thank you to Randy Garudi and, of course, Danny Meyer, who's doing so much to help us with the recovery, and the entire team. I've got to finish chewing for a moment. I think that would be more dignified, don't you think? Yeah. So, everyone, we're going to keep rolling out incentives. We're going to keep making it easy. We're going to keep making it fun. We really, really need to get everyone vaccinated.
Now that I think about it, I think I played that one time before. I was going to say while it was happening, but I didn't have the podcast back then. But I think I did play that before. But, I wanted to play it again because, again, more than anything, one of the things I'm going to really start trying to do is to get people to stop idolizing our politicians. And that starts at the top. I mean, that starts with Trump. I was just having this conversation literally before I started recording this with another friend, and she's a huge, huge Trump fan. And she's like, "What do you think so far?" I'm like, honestly, I mean, yeah, I've liked some of the executive orders, namely the one that stops grown men from wearing skinny jeans. No, I'm just kidding. Although that is good. Grown men should not wear skinny jeans. But yeah, I've liked some of the executive orders. I've liked some of the things they've done. But I also think that, he's moving a mile a minute. And I'm not going to say he's been reckless or careless, although you could make that argument. But I will say more than anything that they do not do a good job of explaining and messaging certain things. And I'll give you two examples. All of the scuttle about the Panama Canal and then annexation of Greenland. Honestly, if that was messaged properly and explained properly, I think they could absolutely gain the support of probably the entire country. But they don't take the time to do that. They don't message it the right way. They don't explain why we're doing this or why we'd like to do it. There's no finesse in the game. Instead, it just comes off as shoving it down people's throat. It comes off as like right-wing, careless MAGA. And I just don't understand how nobody in the administration has a finesse game. I think you need a little bit more of a finesse game. So anyway, what I was going to say was, this Bill de Blasio piece, I wanted to play that because honestly, think back, that is literally the sitting mayor of New York. And when you listen to that now, that would be so unacceptable if your neighbor did that, let alone someone that people look up to for leadership, and especially during the COVID time where there was so much anxiety and fear and all of that, to incent people to get vaccinated because of getting free burger and fries. I mean, that is just morally bankrupt to me. And that entire process of incentives, I remember they incented local Southern California people with Lakers tickets. Now imagine if you are someone that's a diehard Lakers fan and you've never gotten a chance to go to a game, you're going to go get vaccinated in order to get Lakers tickets. And then that Lakers game, which lasted one night, is, I guess, has to take the place of potentially some vaccine reaction or later injury that just affects the rest of your life. I mean, it's really pretty incredible when you think about it now that we, are several years removed in terms of, how they did everything. And again, I can't just say, oh, well, they didn't know and they were figuring it out as they go. I don't really agree with that. And I don't buy that, because I don't buy that proper leadership ever should take, medically related things and create tangible incentives like Lakers tickets or free French fries and a burger and try to get people to, to take medical action on their bodies with that. That to me is pretty crazy. All right, next up, I want to play this clip from Robert De Niro, actually. And this is something that is starting to kind of fly around Instagram in particular in relation to, the Robert F. Kennedy stuff, because as you know, Robert F. Kennedy, I'm not going to call him Bobby. We're not close like that. But, he gets scrutinized as being anti-vaccine and all of this. And I'll try to find that Jenny McCarthy, Jim Carrey clip as well while I'm playing this for you guys. But this clip is interesting because if you know anything about Robert De Niro's politics now, he is incredibly left-wing liberal. I mean, absolutely viscerally and vitriolly hates Trump. And so it's interesting that somehow this clip has gotten kind of a second life. So give this a listen and then I'll talk you through it.
A lot of information about things that are happening with the CDC, the pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of things that are not said. I, as a parent of a child who has autism, I'm concerned, and I want to know the truth, and I'm not anti-vaccine.
So you said, you went public for the first time saying that your 18-year-old son does have autism. Yes. That had been a very private thing for you, and yes. Part of the reason you wanted this film shown was to start that conversation.
Absolutely.
Do you believe you'll now have a role in that conversation going forward?
Possibly, yes, because...
Really quick. So the backstory on this was a movie called Vaxxed, From Cover Up to Catastrophe. And in 2016, as the co-founder of the Tribeca Film Festival, he was a big supporter of that, but then he basically backed away from it. It looks like once he started, actually right after this interview, who knows, the quote unquote powers that be may have reached out to him and said, hey, you need to distance yourself from this, or you can't be as vocal about this, because he basically, stopped being as vocal and didn't support it. The film was directed by Andrew Wakefield, and it says controversially claims a link between vaccines and autism.
The thing is that to shut it down, there's no reason to. If you're scientists, let's hear. Everybody doesn't seem to want to hear much about it. It's shut down. And you guys are the ones that should be the investigating. Do the investigating. There are many people who will come out and say, no, I saw my kid change like overnight. I saw what happened, and I should have done something, and I didn't. So there's more to this than meets the eye, believe me. There's something there that people aren't addressing. And for me to get so upset here today, on the Today Show with you guys, means there's something there. That's all I wanted, was the movie to be seen. People can make their own judgment, but you must see it. And there are other films, other things that also just...
So this clip was played on the Jimmy Dore show. I've talked about Jimmy Dore before. He's this comedian. So let's finish it out because I think Jimmy gives his take as well.
document and show. It's not such a simple thing.
I got a text from a friend says the movie was called Vaxxed, and Robert De Niro was right behind it up until they were supposed to air it. He got a phone call and no one knows who it was from. But right after that phone call, he would not back the movie.
I still have mixed feelings about it. I wanted it to be in. We decided to pull it because I didn't want to pull the festival in a direction, but it was from filmmakers.
How come Robert De Niro stopped talking about it? Well, I guess somebody lowered the boom on it.
So basically, after that interview on the Today Show, they removed it from the Tribeca Film Festival. I guess it wasn't in there. And then let me read you this. It says, De Niro, who has an autistic son, initially defended the film's inclusion, stating that he wanted a conversation about vaccines and autism. However, after backlash from the scientific community and others, the film was ultimately pulled from the festival. De Niro later expressed regret about removing it and mentioned wanting to see more investigation into vaccine safety, though he clarified that he is not anti-vaccine. Anyway, I thought that was, again, another interesting clip, and it brings about the bigger discussion of why are we afraid to talk about things? And when you're afraid to talk about something, that's like where there's smoke, there's fire. So obviously there's fire. Now, again, I obviously haven't had kids, so I don't know what that vaccination process is. But if any of you have had kids and let's say experienced anything or have any thoughts about the vaccination process, I'd love to talk to you. Again, totally off the record, totally will be anonymous, but if you have any feedback on that, I'd love to hear it. So anyway, I did want to play that because the RFK Jr. talks are ongoing. And again, like I said the other day, love the guy, or if you don't like the guy, I credit him with bringing these discussions to the forefront, and that being the discussion of big pharma, the discussion of our food supply, which I talked about before, big ag, so to speak. And then, like I said, the military-industrial complex. This is funny. As I'm recording this podcast, I'm looking out my window, and there's like 4 planes traveling parallel with each other, just emitting gigantic streams of chemtrails. They look like they're like in unison. And like my sky right now is practically a tic-tac-toe board. I'm not even kidding. So let's see what the weather plays out the rest of the week. This stuff is so weird to me. I wish I could visually show you in this podcast what the sky looks like right now. It's crazy. I'm not kidding. It looks like an apple pie or a tic-tac-toe board. All right, next up, this was pretty crazy interview over the weekend that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky did. It looks like it was in his home country of Ukraine, but he basically said in the interview that Ukraine has only received, by the way, $75 billion of the $177 billion in aid that is sent by the United States. Let me say that again. Literally, Zelensky is saying that he has only received $75 billion of the supposed $177 billion that the Biden administration has said they have sent to Ukraine. So on social media over the weekend, people, not mainstream, I'll tell you that, but people like the Deep Shallow Dive were saying, where is the other $102 billion? Like, what happened to that? Where is that money? Somebody's lying. Either the United States did not send the full $177 billion, or Zelensky got more than he's claiming. He's claiming he only got $75 billion, but somebody's lying. And this was all predicated because Trump said that he's putting a pause on any more foreign aid being sent. Now, the interesting thing about that is I don't think that included Israel. So it looks like they're going to continue to send money to Israel, but they're not going to send money to Ukraine. Now, that's a whole nother discussion. We'll get into that another time. But anyway, I did think this Vladimir Zelensky interview was pretty interesting. I wish it was more in English because it's only in Ukrainian, but it's still getting, a lot of activity. All right, next up, I want to play you this clip from Fox's Sean Hannity interviewing the old school Ted Koppel. Remember Ted Koppel? So give this a listen first.
We have to give some credit to the American people that they're somewhat intelligent and that they know the difference between an opinion show and a news show.
Yeah.
You're cynical. Look at that. Yeah.
I am cynical because,
You think we're bad for America? You think I'm bad for America?
Yeah.
You do?
In the long haul, I think you and all these opinion shows...
That's sad, Ted.
No, you know why?
That's sad.
Because you're very good at what you do, and because you have attracted a significantly more influential...
Let me finish
the sentence before you do that.
With all due respect.
You have attracted people who are determined that ideology is more important than facts.
He said, you have attracted people that have determined that ideology is more important than facts. And you know what? I completely agree with him in that. And I'll say this, he could have done that interview, Ted Koppel being, with Sean Hannity from Fox, and it applies to him because, again, Sean Hannity and all of these talking heads on Fox, they are preaching an ideology. They absolutely are preaching an ideology. And that is, the right-wing conservative ideology. Ted Koppel could have conducted that same exact interview with Rachel Maddow on MSNBC or any of the people that are on CNN or MSNBC because they're conducting the same ideology except on the left side. So anyway, I want to kind of end with that today. I'm telling you, Fox News, MSNBC, and like CNN, they're practically unwatchable for me these days. I can't even watch them. And that's because they're just too biased. They're too biased. They absolutely do not call a spade when it's needed. And so I would actually caution you if those are networks that you look to basically give you your fact set. You're not getting the real facts. You're getting their interpretation of the fact set and you're getting their ideology. You truly are. And again, that applies to Fox News on one side or one extreme, and then MSNBC and CNN on the other extreme. So anyway, please give that some thought. Seriously, give that some thought, and we'll talk a little bit more of maybe, places that you can look at to, again, get a more balanced take and, quite frankly, get a more nuanced take and just get the real facts, and then you decide for yourself versus being led down the path that they are leading you down, respectively, for each of their silos, so to speak. All right, everybody, that's it. 28 minutes. Call a spade. We'll have a good week and talk to you soon.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.